Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Super Saturday finale. It is the main race, if you will, today here at Watkins Glen. The Tioga Downs Casino 120, 2 hours of action for the Michelin Pilot Challenge for 2022 in scorching temperatures. With the track up at 127 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 53 Celsius, and in the air it's 30 Celsius, that's 86 degrees Fahrenheit. At the front of the grid, we already have the cars leading them out around their warm-up lap. Let's call it a formation lap rather than a warm-up lap. Let's take some of the storylines. Joe Bradley has word from TCR.
Well, perhaps one of the most interesting things, certainly for me, is the position of the number one. Taylor Hagler, Michael Lewis, the Brian Herter Autosport Hyundai Elantra, current series champion. That's why the car's carrying the number one. However, it starts dead last. Keep your eyes on that car moving through the field.
Yes, at the head of the field, best ever qualifying effort for Alfredo Najri. On the front row for the Toyota, he comes into this race 5th in the championship, still within a shout of that GS honors. But looking at this race last year, it was a little bit of unfinished business for Alfredo, 9th and a DNF. He is looking to try and put the ghosts of last year behind him. No better way to do that than to start on the front row.
3.4 miles and 11 corners here on this classic natural terrain road circuit that's been here since 1955. Road racing was the order of the day for 4 years from the late 1940s, but road racing at that time was particularly dangerous, whether it was here in the US or further afield, and accidents and tragedies on the road racing circuits around the world meant that the good people of Watkins Glen decided to create this fantastic circuit, carved it out of the countryside, a green and pleasant land, and it follows the contours of the land round here and very much replicates the kind of roads that the drivers were risking their lives on back in the 40s and early 50s. And the great thing about this is that the atmosphere and indeed the character of this circuit are barely changed since those early days. This is a circuit that has played host to the very top in motorsport from here in the United States and around the world. And whether that's stock car racing or IMSA sports cars, whether it is Formula One, it has been a challenge down through those 50 plus years that it has been in operation. Good afternoon if you are just joining us. Shea Adam and Joe Bradley, you've heard from in the booth. Jeremy Shaw is with me, John Hindhaugh. In the pits. Jeremy Shaw is with me, John Hindhaugh in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. We are live in sound and vision. For those of you in the US, if you want to tune into us, go to imsaradio.com and hit the listen live button. In fact, wherever you are, you can do that. If you're outside the US and there's no network TV deal, then stay on imsaradio.com and hit the live video button. We've got uninterrupted live coverage all the way through. When we say flag to flag, we mean it. The only thing that's side by side here is the racing. Jeremy coming up to the green flag. And two classes here where, frankly, you might as well put the numbers on a dartboard and throw a couple of darts at it, because you'd probably get just as good an idea of who might be on the podium doing that than trying to rationalise this in any form, shape or form otherwise.
Yeah, very true. It's been a wide open season so far. We've had 4 different winners in the first 4 races, and that certainly wouldn't be any sort of a surprise if we had a different one today as well. 4 different manufacturers too: Ford, Mercedes, Porsche and Aston Martin taking the first 4 races. So it's really exciting. It's also going to be interesting in the middle of the pack, because the TCR cars have to start behind the GS cars. There's no class split like there was for a year or two up until fairly recently. That's gone away now, so the TCR cars will start directly behind the GS cars, and at the start of the race, many of the TCR cars are faster than the slower drivers in GS, so that's going to make some shuffling of the pack in the early stages, and it's up to those drivers to keep it clean.
Congratulations to pit lane reporter Joe Bradley and to pit lane lead official Johnny Knott, both celebrating their birthdays. Johnny's is today, Joe's was a couple of days ago, and in the race today we've got a couple of other birthday drivers.
Gary Ferrero's was yesterday.
Right, okay. So plenty of people.
60, good chap.
Let's not say anything more.
He'll be fine with
He'll
that.
be fine, absolutely.
Hope.
2 hours on the clock. Tioga Downs Casino 120. The Corvette pace car, as it is now, is in the pit lane. And so it comes down to RS1's Eric Filgueras to bring the cars to the line. The green flag is in hand. And it is now being waved with some gusto at the start-finish line. A great break down to the first corner. The downhill braking. Turner Motorsport pulling out a line from way back in the field. And heading down towards the first corner. The GS field looks absolutely superb as they head through for the green flag lap. Up to the climbing S's for the first time. And the GS cars are well away before we've even seen the TCRs. They've dropped way back.
Oh, there is a split start.
So I don't know whether this was done by the teams themselves or whether this was mandated, but this is much better because there were 2 safety cars. So this is an IMSA mandated start. Big thumbs up from us for that as the pole sitter gets away down the inside. That's the Hyundai, and that's a very neat start indeed for Mason Filippi in the Brian Hurter number 77, Chris Miller for Unitronic Audi in the yellow and black second place car, and they've all fallen into line as well, making up positions from the back. Taylor Hagler already in the number 1 Hyundai Elantra was out of line and driving around some people. I also saw Gavin Ernstone trying to make up some positions as well in the 61, the Roadshagger Racing Audi RS3. Couple of different versions of the RS3 here this weekend, including the brand, in fact 3 different versions, 2 of the old type, 1 with the DSG box and 1 with the sequential, and the brand new Evo version of the RS3 LMS, which is a whole new package from Audi Sport Customer Racing.
Yeah, and that brand new car hasn't really been tested in long distance racing. All the races they've done in the past has been sprint racing, and they're finding when they get here with all sorts of different electronic systems on the car they have to run for IMSA competition, is kind of overloading the alternator on that car. So that's been a problem through practice and qualifying for those 2 cars from Tooth Autosport that was so at the back of the field, but they're just trying to gain some experience. I love the split start. I think the teams have been lobbying to get that reinstated again. I think that's a much more sensible decision, and I'm glad to see it.
Particularly at circuits that have a twisty first sector. The start is under review. That's pretty much standard operational procedure. Good start by the Toyota Gazoo Racing Supra from second position. And that car, though, has now dropped back down the field.
Yeah, he dropped back to 5th position as Alfredo Naggi got kind of stuck on the outside a little bit at turn 1, and Kenny Murillo sort of snuck through on the inside of him, and Luca Mars took advantage of that as well to move into 3rd position, and followed also by Dylan McAvern. But good clean start at the front, and the same in TCR with Mason Filippi in that brand new car for this weekend. They started off the season, he and his teammate Tyler Maxson were each with a pole position in the first 2 races. Didn't get the win put together though, and then they had a big crash at Sebring. They had to use an older Hyundai Veloster for the next 2 races because there are no new cars available from Germany where they are built. They finally got a new car here. He puts it on the pole position again, does Mason Filippi, and he already made a great start to be a full second clear of Chris Miller at the end of first lap.
Hyundai Motorsport Group in Germany doing all the builds for these cars, and indeed looking after the World Rally Championship effort as well in terms of the build for Hyundai, who've really thrown their weight in behind this N brand. That is their sports brand. That is what the big N is on the side. Nobody will actually tell me what the N stands for, but they have a development centre and a performance centre at the Nürburgring at the Nordschleife, just on Gottlieb Daimler Strasse, which is right alongside the Dodiger Höhe, which is the long run back to the Grand Prix circuit. But they've certainly made their mark on TCR racing across the world with the I cars, and now the Velosters and the Elantras, and already a bit of internecine battling going on between two of the eggshell blue cars. That is the colour of the N cars, and it's the 33 Robert Watkins car and Parker Chase in the 98 who are having the scrap at the moment. And for the moment, it is the number 98 that's just got the advantage in the battle for third position. Mason Filippi goes across the line. Chris Miller is a second and a half. Then it's Parker Chase, Wickens, Rory van der Steur for Van der Steur Racing, the number 19 Veloster. Then AJ Muss fighting his way through the field. Victor Gonzalez for Honda in the number 99. Michael Johnson, Mike Lamara, Gavin Ernstone. Taylor Hagler did make up some positions, up to 11 for that number 1 car that started all the way at the back. And the 28 car running down the field. That is the 28 car is one of the Caymans, and that car looking a little bit... No, that's all right. It's running fine. I thought it was slowing at the front of the field, but that's okay. Eric Filgueras for the RS1 machine. I thought he was running a bit slowly there, but he's in so much clear air that I couldn't actually see the chasing pack behind him, Jeremy.
No, that's true. And that Porsche is tiny, isn't it, compared to the other cars? No wonder it's so fleet on the straights, because it's got a very small frontal area. And Eric Filgueras, just his second start in this championship. He and Stephen McAleer won the opening 4-hour race at Daytona, looking to make it 2 for 2. And Filgueras had his first pole position for this race, and he's running out front right now and doing exactly what he wants to do. He'd also, as we heard from several drivers, he needs to look after those tyres. The Porsche is pretty good on its tyre wear, so they won't be too concerned, but certainly it is a factor for many of these teams, and that Porsche, as well as being the smallest frontal area, also is the lightest car in the field as well, so that helps again with tyre conservation.
It would actually be 7 of 8 for Stephen and Eric on the air, because they've won 5 out of 6 races in SRO together as a duo as well in 2022. But ask and ye shall receive. John, Katie Brennan has let us know that the N stands for Nürburgring and Namyang, where they test and develop the Hyundai brand cars. Very cool.
See, I got it half right. I did think Nürburgring Nordschleife had something to do with it. I know that there was a test facility, Namyang, but I hadn't made that connection, to be honest, so thank you, Katie, for that. We're into the racing, and the Mustang being pressured at the moment by Turner Motorsports, the 55. That is the GT AMG, and that is the battle. This is the battle for 8th and 9th position. Bob McCallion and Trevor Andrusko in the cars. Yeah,
it's a good little battle there. We've got too much of a problem for the Nola Sport Porsche in GS, car number 47. Matt Travis hasn't completed a lap, so I don't know what happened to that car. Whether it took the start or not.
Not on the grid, that car, Jeremy.
Okay.
From Shea. There, and I'm just looking down. Yeah, the Nola Sport car 47. Not making the grid. Filgueras goes through for RS1. 1.4 seconds to the good. Kenny Murillo, Luca Mars for Murillo & Co. Motorsports. Porsche, Mercedes, Ford, BMW, Toyota, Aston Martin in your top 6. 6 of the 7 manufacturers that are represented in GS racing, GT4 racing, and the partnership between IMSA and SRO, Stefan Rattel organisation. Stefan Rattel's organisation invented GT4 effectively and still are the guardians of it globally. They license it to the IMSA organisation. IMSA reserve the right to make their own balance of performance from the data that they collect, and that's worked really well. And that partnership and agreement has been renewed this week and stretches off into the near distance, which is great news for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Some thought that we might see a mixture of GT4s and LMP3s in the future as well. We'll hear all about the future of IMSA from 2023 onwards when we get to John Doonan's presidential address at the National Park of Speed at Road America later on in the year. We'll have all the details for that for you, including next year's 2023's schedule. And if you haven't heard John Doonan's interview with us from Le Mans and Hagerty Radio Le Mans a couple of weeks ago, worth a listen. Go onto the radiolemans.com site and seek it out. We'll play it through for you before Michelin Countdown to Green tomorrow. If you tune in early, you'll be able to hear that. Some very interesting tidbits. 10 minutes of racing gone. Eric Filgueras for RS1 and Porsche leading out. Been a big week for Porsche, hasn't it? JDC, Miller Motorsport and Jota being announced as the first two customer teams. One for the WEC being Jota, Sussex-based team, and the guys from JDC Miller over here in GTP. And Hertz coming back to top line racing as well as the sponsor of the Jota car. Those announcements just being made today from the partnership with the customer teams, and it is, if you will, the entry to Porsche's endurance racing ladder, the GT4 Cayman Club Sport, which is leading out the moment. Low centre of gravity with the flat six engine right in the middle of the car. And if you've got a Boxster or a Cayman, I challenge you to, from the top at least, find where the engine is. You can open the little hatch at the back. There's extra luggage space in there. Of course, there's a frunk as well. But you try and find the engine, not a clue how you would get to that. And kudos to the likes of Blur Fiend and the other Porsche technicians who have to work on them. I suspect it's probably easier to drop the engine down than to get in from the top. But on the race cars, a lot more serviceable, of course. And it makes for a very nimble, very quick race car. And Eric is pulling away from the field. 2.3 seconds last time around. He crosses the stripe again. And it's still over 2 seconds back to Kenny Murillo for the Mercedes-AMG GT4. Very, very warm out there. The pit lane is empty, and there's very few people doing anything on the pit lane other than our hardy IMSA pit officials, who thankfully are dressed in white with white helmets, because it is baking down there. There's hardly any shade other than under the awnings for the WeatherTech teams, which is where the bulk of the pit lane personnel are, and that is absolutely understood, with an air temperature of 30 Celsius and a track temperature of 53 now. That's 127 Fahrenheit. That is torturing the Michelin Pilot Challenge tyres. It does, of course, mean that the tyres that are left on the pit wall in the sun or behind the easy ups will be absolutely ready to go should they be required. This is a really sensible start and some good pace showing early on by the leading trio. Fastest lap of the race, a 1:56.0 in GS by the leader. In TCR, it's a 1:58.449 by the fourth place car. That's Robert Wickens who's put in that time. And in terms of lap records, I shouldn't think we're that close to them at this stage with heavy cars and hot track. Jeremy, 56.0 at the front of the field?
No, a couple of seconds away. It was Devin Jones who has a lap record going back to 2019 with a 1 minute 54.0. More representative, perhaps the fastest lap from last year was Trent Hindman in an Aston Martin at 1:54.8. So again, it is super hot out right there right now, and just kind of looking after these tyres in this early stages.
Bit of a battle beginning to develop for second and third with Luca Mars, who's come up through the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Championship, stalking the tangerine blue and white AMG, that multicoloured Core Motorsport Ford Mustang, looking and sounding wonderful. We will have a GT3, a full GT3 version of the Mustang coming along in 2024. Corvette coming in as well to the new GT3 regulations, not the current regulations, not the SRO regulations. These are being penned by the FIA and the ACO and are distinctively different than the current GT3 regs. But GT4 continuing in its current form for the foreseeable future, and I think that's a good thing. Stability in the regs. Off for the Rebel Rock Camaro in the inner loop. Frank Depew looks like he's got a left front puncture on that car, and if he has, he's done very well not to have a bigger incident. He was coming down to turn one and he just tried to go up the inside of the number 877 Sheena Monk JG Wentworth Racing Mustang, the green and white car, and there was contact there, which was left front to, well, right side door, to be honest, and that's what's caused the problem for Frank, and he'll have to limp that car back round pretty much a full lap then with that damaged left front wheel and tyre, and it's too early for Frank to even think about getting out of that car. So what a shame, because he'd been doing a pretty good job, Frank. And he's managed to get it round the lap. Now, I can't imagine, did he take the shortcut? Because if he did, he'll lose a lap, I think. So he comes into the pit lane now. He's made very good time. There's a bit of damage on the wheel arch, the fender, just above the left front wheel. And coming down to the Rebel Rock Racing team now, where our intrepid pit lane reporter, Shea Adams, steps out of the shade and into the sunshine.
I haven't been in the shade at all, John. I'm a true Florida girl. You know me better than that. But yes, there is a little bit of white smoke coming out from the left front of this car as the tire is still hanging on and the crew ready to go. They are going to refuel just to elongate this stint a little bit. Now remember, Frank Depew is going to have to stay out for however much longer he is in the pits for this stop, over top of how long the 40-minute mark has elapsed, which is the minimum drive time for drivers in GS. So that is something that the brains on the wall of Rebel Rock will need to pay attention to. They've changed both of the left front tire, both of the left side tires. They didn't just do the front. They've now got a good old-fashioned baseball bat out, prying away the fender. Going to drop the car off the air jack to see if it has worked in prying away. Yep, ready to go, good to go. Frank is told you are clear to leave. Oh, that's a beautiful sound.
Yeah, really does sound good, that big V8. But that's going to need some assistance, I think, from Lady Luck, or a little bit of tricky strategy if that car's going to get back into the game, even with the potential for a slightly shorter stop when Robin gets in that car. Robin Liddell, of course. Had a great chat with Robin yesterday evening before we left the track. 43 BMW in strife as well. This is early for Sean Quinlan and Stephen Cameron Racing, and that is a left front tyre as well. Now, more contact. Has he run over something? That's at Joe Bradley's end of the pit lane. I'm trying to see if there's any damage to the left front guard on that car. This is the blue and very orange. Blue and tangerine with a bit of silver on that. Very fetching livery. He tracks across to the left-hand side of the track as he comes to the final corner. And he pulls into the pit lane. Sean's done an absolutely cracking job there. He's still got the carcass on the rim at the moment. Ooh, now I'm looking to see. Oh, there are 5 studs, of course, in the middle of that rim. Joe Bradley is that end of the pit lane with a car moving at a slow pace. Joe, at least the team have got time to get ready for Sean to bring that car into them.
Yep, and he arrives now left front. The carcass of the tyre hanging out of the wheel arch. That car looking like he stood a... Oh, loads of dust and dirt in my face there. Done a cracking job getting the car back without causing any damage to the wheel arch. The wheel comes off now, putting rear tyres on, or a rear tyre on the car as well. So front and rear, no idea what's caused this puncture. The car bears no sign of any apparent issues, i.e. with barriers onto the cars. So I can only assume that that tyre is deflated of its own volition. They've topped off the fuel, interestingly, so that's extended the fuel window a little bit more.
Joe, we've got an incident out on the circuit for the number 21. This is the GR Supra, and not the car that was at the sharp end of the field, and this is going to be a full course yellow, and indeed is. Pits have been closed. And Anton Diaz-Pereira, the Riley Motorsport driver, who was in 21st position battling with David Brulé from Kelly Moss and Automatic Racing's Raman Abdul-Vahabi, is into the wall heavily at turn 7 and has done quite a bit of damage to the guardrail. He's actually parted the guardrail and left some of the car in there. Car's gone around. He's on the uphill portions. Some track maps would have that as 7B. Exit to 7, if you will. That's the toe of the boot in local parlance. As I say, he's having a decent battle. He arrived backwards into the guardrail at a pretty quick pace. I don't think there was anybody else around him. So maybe just a small mistake by Anton Diaz-Pereira. But I don't think that car is going anywhere. The four-way flashes are on. I can see him moving in the car. Crew, I'm being told, up on the wall as if he's coming back in. I will be astounded. The rear end of that car has been punched forward. It looks about the length of a Toyota Auris rather than a Supra at the moment, or maybe a Celica. Safety crew have arrived, and this is our first full course yellow then, with 22 minutes rather having elapsed, Jeremy.
Yeah, it came out about 20 minutes, 10 laps completed by the leaders. They just completed their 10 laps that the leaders had when the caution was shown. Another incident for Anton Diaz-Pereira. Unfortunately, they've got that car has not a very good finishing record over the last couple of years. Just looked like he lost control coming off that corner. On acceleration at that point, you're towards the exit of the corner, it just turned around on him. And you know, we talked about the fact that the rear tyres do get a beating around here, and if you don't look after the tyres in the early stage, it can get looser still. And so it just got away from Dr. Pereira right there, and he's backed that car into the wall. Heavy damage there for that Riley Motorsport BMW. The sister car started on the front most, running quite nicely in the 6th position. He lost a few places, did Alfredo Nadri, including one a few laps ago to the number 56 car of Eric Foss, but hanging right there, doing exactly what he needed to do in the early stages. So it's been good news and bad news for that Riley Motorsport camp. Anton Diaz-Pereira was supposed to be sharing that car with Scott Andrews, and unfortunately Scott's not going to get a chance to drive it this afternoon, which is probably just as well, because Scott's hurting as well. He had a road bike accident last Sunday, and his left knee is pretty banged up, and he was telling me yesterday, and in fact at lunchtime, I just saw him a few minutes ago, and he was struggling with that leg. He's having to right foot brake for the first time in quite a few years.
This from Right Turn Lover in Central Europe, where it's just after 10 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday night. Come back to that in a moment. Just the earlier incident for Frank Depew earlier on. I haven't been following My Pai Cha, which I really like, Michelin Pilot Challenge. Minimum drive time, Jeremy, for the classes?
40 minutes. In this race for the Michelin Pilot Challenge is the minimum drive time, and so the drivers have to spend at least 40 minutes on the racetrack, not including pit stops, to meet that minimum requirement. So
for both drivers, that is.
Both drivers, yeah. But if one does, then the other one, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And by extension, the maximum drive time is 80 minutes. Same difference. It's a 120-minute race.
Correct.
So,
exactly so. Remember though, pit time spent in the pit lane does not count. Now I mean, if you just did your 40 minutes straight through, that wouldn't matter. But in the case of Frank Depew, who stopped earlier on to get that left front tyre replaced, it will actually mean that he's got to go a little bit longer into the race than everybody else. But then he's fueled a little bit longer, so tactically he might be able to go and get a little bit of a tactical advantage.
And this caution is exactly what he needed, because he was still on the lead lap, so he's going to be able to pack up behind everybody else. And before we go back to green, the GS cars will move back ahead of all the TCRs. That's the usual field split. That's normal procedure in IMSA competition. So all the GS cars will line up behind each other, then the TCRs. So he'll be able to, he's currently running in the 39th position, is Frank Depew. But the good news is for him, he's behind 14 TCRs, so you'll leapfrog all of those for the restart and be back on the tail of the pack when we get ready to go back to green. And we're now, 25 minutes into this race exactly. So another 15 minutes. This is going to be a pretty lengthy caution period, I think, there, because
so here's the question.
Tweak the barrier. So there's only going to be 5 or 10 minutes probably racing under green before the opportunity comes to make that pit stop. But he certainly will be one of the first drivers, once that minimum drive time requirement is met, to come into pit lane.
And what we're saying here is, normally you would take the opportunity under yellow to get a free pit stop, but because of that drive time rule now, it's unlikely that the GS cars will come in to the pit lane. The TCRs, I mean, the lane is still closed at the moment, so nobody can come into the pit lane. It will be the GS cars that get the first opportunity.
Well, we're within half an hour of the start of the race, so I think are the pits going to be open right now?
They should be. It's 15 for a quick yellow, isn't it? 15,
isn't it?
Yeah.
And we were just over that, but there's some. That's what I was worried about. Some damage to the barrier there once again in turn 7.
Well, some GS teams are getting ready.
Yeah, well, there will be some teams definitely will come in, top off with fuel, so they won't make the driver change now, but they will top off with fuel, which means that when they do come in for the driver change, they'll need less fuel, so they'll be sure to stop.
But that means you've got to work harder to get your driver change done in time, because that shortens the amount of time you've got, because the determining factor should always be the fueling.
Yep.
The tyre changing and the driver changing should be able to be done. The red cross flashing at the end of pit road means that the pit road is still closed, and that is, there's a repeater further back up the track as well as you come through. 10 minutes for the repair is what's coming out of race control at the moment, although hoping to be faster than that. Ooh, there's going to be some tough decisions to be made at this point.
Yeah, but for the cars, particularly at the back of the pack, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Correct.
Even if we remain under yellow until the pits are open for the driver change, with the minimum drive time requirement having been met, then they're still going to. They might well come in now and top off with a bit of fuel. Yeah, but we're only 20 minutes in, so we're only kind of not even halfway through a stint, so it won't even need a full tank of fuel to go from here.
Absolutely solid work from the track services crew here at Watkins Glen International. Fine bit of engineering to straighten everything up. They've made sure that the support post behind the metal guardrail is still up to the task, and they've chalked that up. They've straightened out the barriers using their truck and a bit of chain. Very well done. And the pits are now open with, it's going to be just under half an hour since we started the race. So still about 10 minutes, let's call it 9 minutes by the time the first cars come in before drive time is reached. looking down on the pit lane, it looks like Turner are coming in. The leaders have not come in. So let's see who the first car is to come into the pit lane. The first of the Turner cars has stayed out. No, dives in very late, and so does the core car. Now, where's the pit commit line? They were very, very late indeed for the Core Autosport Mustang, who dives into the pit lane. So that is going to be something to be looked at as the Luca Mars number 60 comes into the pit lane. Let's head down to our pit lane reporters. We'll start with Shea Adam.
I've got Dylan McIverne here. They're doing fuel, and at the very least, left side tires for him is behind him. In the sister car, the number 96, Vin Barletta, is also into the pit lane. Left side tires going on that car as well. This will be 4 tires for Dylan McIverne, who is more than capable of elongating his stint, a winner of the 6-hour race back in 2017 with Turner Motorsport. It might just be a taco night tonight, guys. They do look fairly worn, though. The Michelin tires coming off of that car, remember, they qualified on them as well. All fine with this service down here at Turner.
Well, both of the Core Motorsports Ford Mustangs in only fuel. So a different tactic employed this end of the pit lane, and it's gone quiet again.
Did notice as well that Alfredo Negri came in the Riley Toyota Supra GT4. So they came in as well, and they were putting tyres on that car as well. So there's been a differing strategic thought up and down the pit lane, staying out the following cars at the front of the field. And we'll get a bit of a hiatus before the pits open next time around for TCR. So the top 8 cars that have not stopped are, in this order, the number 28, RS1 Porsche, the number 72, Murillo Racing Mercedes AMG GT4, the number 56, Murillo Mercedes GT4, the number 12, Patrick Gallagher-driven Corsa Horizon with MC Squared, Aston Martin, the FCP Euro Mercedes, Trevor Andrusco, the 55 car, Alan Brynjolfsson for Volt Racing, Hugh Plum for TGM, the number 46 Porsche, and Michael McCann from McCann Racing. Ted Giovannis has stayed out as well in the 64. You'd expect that for his 100th start in the IMSA Michelin Pilot.
Sure about that, to be
challenge.
honest.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, to put all what you said there another way, of the top 12 cars, only 4 came onto the pit lane. The 2 Core Autosport entries that were running 3rd and 9th, number 60 and 59. The 4th place car, which is the Turner Motorsport BMW, they always stop when they can. They were running 4th. That was Dylan McIverne, and car number 14, like you said, Alfredo Nadri. So of the top 12, 8 of them stayed out on the racetrack. Behind that, everybody came in except for Ted Giovannis.
Right.
And actually, I don't think the number 71 car came in either. But again, they've already topped off with fuel, having had that tyre stop earlier on. So I think the amount of fuel they're going to need when they hand over that car, when Frank Depew comes in to hand over to Robin Liddell, is about the same amount of time that it takes to change the driver. So no point in coming in again for that car.
Yeah.
But for Ted Giovannis, I'm surprised they didn't come in, because again, they can make their drivers change quicker, and now they're going to need a bit more fuel than they would otherwise need. But like I say, it's still only about a half a tank of fuel. It's not a full tank. So again, I'm sure they're thinking that the time elapsed, that the time taken to put on the fuel against the driver change time, that's the critical factor.
Here comes the TCR hordes, and it looks like pretty much everybody is coming into the pit lane. Joe Bradley.
Well, I'm with the leading TCR car. That's the number 77 car that started on pole. Felipe at the wheel, fuel and a tyre being readied. 2 tyres come over the wall now, and guess what? Axle it's on. They're changing tyres on. The front, of course. These front-wheel drive TCR cars really do wreck the tyres straight away. They're powering out of the corners and also getting the car to turn.
Front tire change down here too for the leading car, well, the second in-line car, but the leading car is across the line. That's the 17 JDC Unitronic Audi. We've got 2 Hyundais behind me and 2 Hyundais in front of me. The 2 in front of me are the 98 and the 1, the championship leading. That is 4 new tires across them, all of them being fronts. Joe?
I'm doing a little bit of an inspection little bit of an observation. Tyres coming off the 77. Don't look too bad, even wear, but you know what? It is a concern. What did we say the track temperature was up to? 50+ degrees. It's got to be burning those 53 degrees. It's got to be burning the front tyres up on these front-wheel drive cars.
John Shea down in the pit lane, full course yellow, still an hour and a half to go of the Tioga Downs Casino 120. So just on 86 minutes of the 120 that we started with. There'll be no final wave by. Now, was there a little touch coming into the pit lane? Yes, there was. It was Hyundai on Hyundai, eggshell blue on eggshell blue, as they came into the pit lane.
33 into the back of the number 98 car there. So Robbie Wickens just tapped the back of the number 98 car. That's driven by...
It was Parker Chase who took it out, so presumably, yes, it was Parker, because they were having the battle beforehand as well. So we cycled through the pits. It would appear that the barrier repair has been done in super quick time up there at turn 7. No final wave by. Waiting to see if the lights go out this time around. We've still got some TCRs catching. Actually, not too bad. That's not too bad. The lights should go off, if they're going to, as they come through turn 9, which is about now. I think we may have one more lap with the Corvette C8 at the head of the field. Keeping my eye on the safety car lights. No, that we're going to have one more lap around. Huge dark lines of rubber being laid by the Murillo Racing Team cars, the 72 and the 56, Kenny Murillo and Eric Voss, as they're weaving sideways. That will be not really to put heat into the tyres, it'll be trying to clean them off. They did have to go offline through 7, and in this extreme heat, those tyres will be picking up any debris that is anywhere near the racing line.
And the car that's third in line here, the orange and blue BMW, that is Sean Quinlan in the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW. That's the car made a pit stop earlier on. That was another puncture, I think, wasn't it?
It was,
and
indeed, left front.
For him, he's a lap down to the leaders.
And there's no final wave by.
No, well, he wouldn't get a no, because he's a GS car, so he's stuck behind him. He is a lap down in any case. So unfortunate for him.
He would have, I think he would have been hoping, wouldn't he, that those lead cars would have pitted and he'd have been back on the lead lap. It hasn't quite worked out that way. Still, bit of a dive bomb down into turn 1. He might get himself back on the lead lap. Live in sound and vision for those of you outside the USA. Make sure you click the live video tab on IMSAradio.com, www.imsaradio.com. Everyone can listen to the audio wherever you are around the world. And if you're in the US, don't forget a full race replay with the IMSA Radio audio and no breaks will be available on the IMSA official YouTube site in a few days' time. John Heinhoff and Jeremy Shaw in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre in a scorching hot crucible of automotive excitement. And we say that not just from the action point of view, but it is actually scorching hot. 127 Fahrenheit on the asphalt at the moment, on the racing surface. That's 53 in Celsius. 30 degrees in the air is 86 Fahrenheit. And it'll probably be 15 to 20 degrees, at least more than that, in the cars, with the heat of the engines, with the Nomex underwear, the fireproof underwear, and the 3-layer seats. I have raced in a GT4 car in 100-degree Texas heat with in the heat of the day.
I can beat that. I've raced 115 at Firebird in racing.
Oh,
yeah.
Respect, mate.
It was a 3-hour race, and I did all about 7 minutes of that. It was a lot of fun, but that was dry heat though. There was virtually no humidity there.
That's a good point.
It was pretty toasty.
Yeah.
I The team had two cars they were running. It was Alfa Romeo. What was the Alfa model? Mental block here. Anyhow, the team had two cars, and I drove the first into the first car, and I thought that was a hour and a half, and I was done. And then the one of the co-drivers in the second car, he had enough after a few minutes. He came into the pits and said, "Jeremy, do you want to take this? Jeremy, do you want to take over the other car?" Sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Much.
Got the end.
So here we are, going back to green flag racing now. We've got 39 minutes in the book, so not yet has the 40 minutes quite elapsed. But at the end of this lap, I think we're going to see a lot of pit stop takers.
Yeah, and you do that. You absolutely would do that because the field will still be packed up. The Corvette is in the pit lane. That's our safety car, and we're back racing again. Remember, at the front of the field, the top 10 have not yet made their first pit stop, but nobody has made their first driver change. Mandatory 40 minutes. So at the end of this lap, the top 10 can stop, but I doubt the ones behind who've stopped can, because they would have spent more than a minute or so in the pit lane. We've actually got the pit stop times on the screen, I think. And we might be able to give you the rundown on that, but that is going to be something that the cars who have made that first stop under yellow, they will have to keep an eye on. On the restart, 3 wide coming to the line, the two core Mustangs going right down the pit wall. Nice bit of bump drafting between the two Fords going past Frank Depew down into turn 1, and it was 3 wide into turn 1. And Frank holding his own there. He was not being bullied by those two Fords on the inside. Fair play to him in the Camaro.
Yeah, well, he was doing the bullying earlier on, wasn't he, when
It's
he had the incident down in turn 1, so we know he's not going to give any quarter. But that was a good move there, and poor old Samir Gandhi was kind of shuffled out the outside there in the car barn Porsche, but he was able to keep going in as well.
So we are now over the 40 minutes, and we've got a problem for the Velostra. That's the Van der Steur car. The right rear of that car, I think, has had a ding, and there looks to be tyre smoke, and the car is moving around under braking. Yeah, it's got hardly any rubber on the right rear. So again, is that side-to-side contact? Oh no, there's suspension damage. There is suspension damage on that car. So the right rear of that car has something just given way. Oh, that is very unlucky, but the right rear wheel is moving around and the suspension looks like it's going to collapse for the Van der Steur racing car. Meantime, Shea Adam has a pit lane caller.
I've got the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW into the pit lane. This is the one that came in during the full course caution. Robbie Foley is taking it over. They both came in during the full course caution, sorry, but this is the one that I was worried about blowing the drive time. I think this is too close to that 40-minute mark for Vin to be safe on drive time. I will check with Turner. They are changing the front tires on this BMW now. No, they're changing the right side tires because they changed the left side tires the last time through. Now the Van der Steur car is in. It stopped right in front of me, and the right side wheel, as it goes up on the air jacks, is dangling limply. This is not a quick stop for them. They will be doing the driver change as well, but it's going to be here for a while.
Shea Adam down there watching those two pit stops, and we will get the numbers for you on the Turner car, but must have been very, very close indeed for Vin Barletta when he came into the pit lane. TCR battles at the front of the field, and the Roadshagger racing car is right amongst it, with Gavin Ernstone having a great battle at the moment in that number 61. Right behind him, the Unitronics car, is Chris Miller. So they're battling for 5th, 6th and 7th. AJ Muss, I think, has just cycled past them. Yes, he has, in the number 2. That's one of the Brian Herter Autosport cars. So this is the midfield, and these are the guys who have already stopped, coming back past the cars, perhaps who have not. Actually, no, Gavin did stop. Alex Rockwell in the Belgarden Techniseal Audi did not stop, and Victor Gonzalez, who is leading at the moment, did not stop either. Robert Wiggins, the best place of the cars that stopped, and he goes to the lead and takes the fastest lap of the race in TCR, 1:58.159 for Watkins. Gavin Ernstone down the inside at turn 1. That's a lovely... Oh, and he gets a clip. That was a bit unnecessary from the Hyundai, but I think he's got away with it. Ernstone just pushed offline, and here comes the Liquid Moly Unitronics car. That's the Audi, and that is Chris Miller making up a position. Oh, and I think there's damage to Ernstone's car after that little bump in turn 1, because he has very little top speed. Now it's starting to pick up and run a bit faster. The Alfa Romeo out of line. Roy Block further down. He crossed the line in 9th position, and he's trying to make up some ground. He's got that Belgarden Techniseal Audi right with him. There's been a bit of bumping and barging on the restart, including between one of the Hondas. Oh, right up against the wall. Roy Block just ushering him off there to the final call. And that was a bit of afters as well there. Oh, race control will not like that. They really will not like that.
Yeah,
pulling across to the right, that was the number 73, Jeremy. Yeah. And that was Mike Lamara.
He was squeezed out wide by number 5, no question about it. Roy Block there pushed him right up into the wall in the exit, so a payback that was for Mike Lamara. Former series champion is Mike Lamara, and he's been around this sport a long, long time, and he won't have liked that move from the Alfa driver there. It was not necessary at that point. They were side by side coming through the corner. There's a bit of banking there to help you in that final turn as well. He didn't really need to do that, but nor did Mike Lamara. I mean, it's just kind of a tap. He didn't turn him around or anything like that, but yeah, race control will certainly be having a look at that one.
Frank Depew in the pits. He has done his 40 minutes, no doubt on that one. And his last lap was his best lap, a 1:57.9, and he'll hand over
good lap too
to Robin Liddell. It was a very good lap. He'll be very happy with that. That would have put him last time around in the top 10 in terms of the lap times of the cars ahead of him. I think that's Shear's end of things as he drives down through the pit lane. Has he got to you, Shear?
He did, and actually he got a little bit further than me. I was watching the Rory van der Steur work continuing, but they are doing right side tires on this car. They did lefts the last time around. Oh, they're going to do left side tires again as well. Didn't need a full load of fuel. The fuel nozzle has already been removed. Changing the left rear and the right front. Car is done. Let's see, drop it off the air jacks now, guys. There we go. Waiting on the last little bit of the driver change for Robin Liddell, making sure all the belts are tight. The door is closed. Goodbye, Robin.
And the Flying Scotsman is back into the race. Always fun spending time with Robin. He told us about 7 different stories consecutively last night. We were talking about old cars that his dad, Eric, had driven down through the years. It was fantastic. Really enjoyed our time with RL, telling us about the logistics of getting up to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park next week. He's very much embroiled in the team management of Rebel Rock Racing, and remember, the last time we were at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Rebel Rock won that race, so they were very keen to get back there, and they've committed to that race next weekend. Well done to them. Let's celebrate everyone who goes north of the border. Damage to the right front of the number 33, that's the Robert Watkins car, sitting at the moment at the lead of the TCR category. And it's quite substantial damage as well, because it's rattled loose some of the trim on the right-hand side door as well. Oh, yeah, that was a pretty stout hit. And that wasn't his car. He was going by the number 19 when that happened. So not sure how Watkins got that damage on the right front. Joe Bradley is looking at the Van der Steur Racing Hyundai Veloster, which came in with damage and is still sitting, ticking over quietly behind him. And another puncture, Joe. This is the number 12, the Corsa Horizon MC Squared Aston Martin in the pit lane. I'll watch that while you tell me what's going on at the Van der Steur.
It's a broken upright. The upright is broken away. Now, that just doesn't break of its own accord. That's had a hit. Now, whether that's another vehicle, I'm not sure. I've seen the car hit anything, but right now, that's why it's taking so long. It's because they're absolutely stripping that right rear suspension back out. The new upright has appeared, and we're just swapping bits and pieces over.
And the Volt Racing car has damage as well. So this is Aston on Aston, question mark, not sure. But there is...
Championship leader.
This is the championship leader with a left front problem. Have they been banging themselves together? Frank Depew has done his 40 minutes and is out of the Rebel Rock Racing car. He's with Shea Adam.
And Frank did such a good job on that final lap, coming into the pit lane, getting more and more comfortable with this car at this track every lap. But you said the car, it's not perfect, but it's still fast.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. We had a little contact, which caused us to come in, change a tire, and go back out. Somehow we're still on the lead lap. I guess I thank the crew for that. But anyway, it was fun out there. You know, ended up, Sheena Monk's a great driver. I was following her, and I think somebody checked up in front of her, and ultimately we got together and, you know, damaged their car a little. I don't know what it did to hers, but unfortunate incident, but we're still running.
Still running and still in with a chance at the win. Good luck.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Shay.
Into the pit lane then for Alan Brynjolfsson in the Volt Lightning right run car. And this is another left front issue. We'll let Shea hustle down to that car while we're here from Rory van der Steur. It's been a very frustrating opening to the race for the Hyundai driver.
It's been a bit of a character-building weekend for you, Rory. What caused that?
Just a slow GS driver. I mean, we're in the fight for the championship right now, and we're in first place coming out from 7th in qualifying, and we just get touched by a GS car. I don't understand why they even have an IMSA license at this point. It's kind of ridiculous.
It must have been a big hit because it's broken the upright.
Yeah, and we had a really, really fast car, I think, today, and the guys worked until 1 a.m. last night to get the car ready because we just wanted to go through everything. Honestly, I think we could have won this one, but I keep saying that, and then trouble happens, so I don't know what to do at this point.
Mate, there's nothing I can say that will help. Bad luck.
A little bit of less bad luck for Volt. They have had a lot of bad luck so far this weekend fighting an electrical gremlin. This tire that has come off of the left front of the car, it was still on. It didn't do any significant bodywork damage, and they checked the suspension, all still good. Driver change is now complete. Alan Brynjolfsson out. Trent Hinman into the end of this one. Let's see what Trent can do.
Yeah, having completed his time in the car, but he's dropped off the lead lap. Meantime, Robin Liddell has just put the fastest lap of the race in the Camaro, and the fastest lap of anybody, a 1:55.2 for the Scotsman, who is right on the pace immediately with 4 brand new Michelin tyres.
And that's traded 3 times in the last 3 laps. First of all, it was Alec Udell who set the fastest lap, 1:55.8. Then it was kind of a 46, Owen Trinkler, who set the fastest lap. Unfortunately for Owen, he's a lap down. He's right behind the 2 race leaders coming through the inner loop there. He's a lap down, but he's got a very quick car. And as you say, then Robin Liddell set a new fastest lap at 1:55.2. So it's been trading back and forth, and the ante is being upped, if you like. But it's still Eric Filgueiras who leads this race. But Kenny Murillo has stayed right with him in this kind of second stint for Filgueiras.
But am I right in saying that the TGM car and Owen Trinkler is catching the leaders? They haven't just passed him, Jeremy. He's coming back at them because he's got newer tyres on. So he's actually got an opportunity to unlap himself here. And of course, these cars have not stopped in front of him, so he will get back on the lead lap.
That's correct. But and Filgueiras, he has just set his best lap of the race last time around, as did the second place car of Kenny Murillo, 1:55.9 for the race leader Murillo. Filgueiras, and 1:55.8 for Kenny Murillo. So you're right. Owen Trinkler is right. He's almost caught them now, but he's then got to find his way past. And a little way back from that trio of cars, 2 leaders plus the laps car. Eric Foss in the second of the Murillo Racing Mercedes is holding off Trevor Andrusco, and then behind him is the next Team TGM car, which is on the lead lap. That is Hugh Plum.
There's a bit of drama coming here for Eric Filgueiras, and I think the team have spotted what I've just seen as well. I'll call it the hood. The front cover on the Cayman is flapping around right in the middle by the Porsche badge. I thought it was just kind of smiling at me at one stage, but it's getting worse. And the team will have to address that. There are some vents at the front of the car, but of course it's a mid-engine car. So need to keep an eye on that, because if that pops up and hits the windscreen, that is a really, really dangerous situation for Eric Filgueras in the RS1. It may be that they change their tactics about when they bring that car in. There's still an hour and 6 to go. I'm absolutely certain they would like to get closer to the 1 hour mark and then try to do this on one pit stop. But at the moment, I'm not sure they dare roll the dice. 67 minutes still to go in the Tioga Downs 120, the Tioga Downs Casino 120. And who is going to gamble then on the pit stop strategy from here on in? Still, the top 6 cars have not stopped at all. James Pesek in the 13th position in GS for PF Racing in the number 40. He's looking at the back of the BGB Motorsports Thomas Collingwood, number 83 Porsche for BGB. They're heading down to the toe of the boot now. In front of them is the hardpoint Nick Galante driven Porsche 718. Brandon Kidd for Forbush Performance is just ahead of that, and that is the edge of the top 10 that is just up the road for James Pesek in the number 40 car. Having a look down the inside at turn number 8. Had to get out of it then. Probably hear from the engine note behind. He couldn't get back on the throttle. Yeah, that front cover on the car, the frunk, if you will, the front trunk. Very spacious, actually. You get an awful lot of luggage in there. And at the moment, it's acting slightly like an air brake. And Kenny Murillo is creeping towards that leader. It's just starting to flap a little more. It was a I don't suspect that would normally be where it was fastened down. I don't think that's how they hold them on in the race cars. I presume they've got actual racer clips on the bonnet of the cars. But that right under the Porsche shield, the Porsche Stuttgart shield, is where the clip for the hood normally is. On these race cars, they save weight by taking off the enamel badges and putting stickers on instead. True, absolutely true.
Yeah, and a new best lap on that last lap for the race leader Eric Filgueras, and these two now pulled away, haven't they, from Owen Trinkler quite significantly on that last lap. So his hopes of getting that lap back are diminishing here as these first 2 cars that still have not yet pitted pull away from Owen Trinkler.
They've got lighter cars, but they've got older tyres. Lighter cars because they have fewer litres of fuel on board.
But they've looked after their tyres
very
well.
have. They really have, Jeremy. And even when we went back to green there, they obviously were building back up again. They didn't just go hell for leather on the green light. But Owen knows that these cars are going to have to come to the pit shortly. We have had that yellow flag period, which will have helped fuel consumption and tyre wear. And those laps account for some 20 minutes. It was only 6 laps, but it was 20 minutes of yellow flags. So coming down to the 1 hour mark, it's going to be somewhere near to splitting the race in halves. Filgueras may be coming in this time. I see movement down on the pit wall. Shea Adam is closer to it than I am.
A lot of movement, John, but the most important thing was they got a nice big patch of 100-mile-an-hour tape ready to go on the front of this Porsche, and they built it up nicely. So for the 28 coming in to this lap.
Canadian Robert Wiggins also with a damaged car. Big chunk of the right front hanging off, and that crevice is getting wider as well. In comes Gavin Ernstone in the number 61. This is the almost road-coloured Roadshagger Racing RS Audi. No hurry. Gavin gets out, helps his teammate John Morley into the car. And that looks to be going all to plan. Meantime, Wiggins with big damage to the front valance and front right wheel arch, and also the front right door is moving around in the wind as well. It looks like the seal has come loose from the door. Oh no, that might be the windscreen. That's a part of the windscreen trim that's come loose on Watkins' car. So that has clearly been quite a thump that car's had to the right front.
Hasn't slowed him down though, has it? He's still pulling away from Parker Chase in second position. Last lap around, he pulled up at a half a second on Parker Chase, second place in the class. He's got a couple of GS cars in between them. Robbie Watkins running in 14th position overall in that TCR leading car at the moment. Parker Chase in second. Victor Gonzalez is right with him in third position as well. Then a little bit of a gap back to Chris Miller, Mason Philippi, and then Roy Block in the Alpha running in sixth position in TCR in the 22nd position overall. And again, super consistent lap times from our race leader, 55.87 last time around for Eric Filgueras. Kenny Murillo, a 55.708. So that was his best lap of the race. So really good job by these two leaders to keep those cars so consistent. And Kenny Murillo pulling away from Eric Foss, who's a former series champion, and is very much in contention for this championship, particularly with the problems for the Aston Martin Vantage of car number 7, the Volt racing machine. Eric Foss came into this weekend.
And they're together.
130 points behind, but second place in the championship.
Yeah, and they are together on the track at the moment.
Yeah,
as
but number 7 car is
tries to go
just
around.
one lap down. He's one lap down.
Correct.
Yeah.
After that problem with the tyre. And goes through past his championship rival to get back on the same lap, but nowhere near the same strategy. And Eric Foss fighting back there at the brow of the hill before turn 8.
Pick your battles, as you say, and there's no point in picking a battle. Oh dear.
Toyota Gazoo Racing left rear tyre issue for the number 14. This was the car that qualified on the front row, and Alfredo Nadri is still in that car. He's not got far to go to the pit lane. This has happened towards the end of the lap. He's coming through turn 10 now. Well, that was their best qualifying position. How much is the heat playing into this? How much have the teams been pushing too hard maybe on these tyres? With extreme temperatures just beginning to drop a degree or two, now down to 51 Celsius. That's still 124 on the Fahrenheit as the pit lane is now beginning to come alive, and the leader is with Shea Adam.
The hood is actually bent up in the wrong direction, and they can't put the tape on it yet because that's where the refueler's feet go to try and hold himself on the hood of this car. They are changing the left side tires first, doing the driver change as well. Eric is out. Stephen Mackler is in this car for the end of the race, plugging in the new driver. And left side tire changed a little bit slow on the left front, but they managed to get it done in time, which is good. Moving around to the right side to give him 4 sticker Michelins. Into the pit lane has come the Toyota. Huge plume of smoke out the rear of that car as it was coming into the pit lane speed limiter, but it is in, and that is a driver change going on for the number 14 as well. So we watch the main car. Here we go. Fueling is done for the 28. Now they go to work with a giant band of tape, taping it on an angle instead of straight across to try and hold this front down. Let's see, a little bit of supplementary tape too. It's a longer stop because they're trying to make sure that the hood doesn't pop up on Stephen, but now he's sent out and nearly collects the 17 Unitronic JDC Miller Motorsport Audi, which comes into its box. That too will be fuel and front tires. Driver change as now we've got Mikey Taylor in for the end.
Problem for another Toyota Supra, and it's another left rear issue. Very, very odd indeed. This time it's the number 6 car that is struggling.
In 9th position after that.
Correct, Brandon Kidd, Forbush performance car. And is this another issue for a BMW? Yes, it is. And this is another left front issue for the 43 car. We've already seen that car down pit lane. The number 19 car is going to get a penalty for refueling while elevated. That will be a drive-through. So the 43 BMW struggling again with problems with their tyres, as in comes the number 72, Kenny Murillo. Eric Voss then, the 56. Murillo Racing Mercedes now at the head of the field. Jeremy, it's all action. It's all action.
Brilliant, isn't it? What a really interesting race, but a lot of punctures out there. You know, it is super hot out here. We've known in the past that if you run over these curbs here, you get on, particularly if you get on the wrong side of the curbs, they can be quite sharp, and that can cause issues.
Inner shoulder issues.
Yes.
Inner shoulder issues, and this, you know, It is so hot that it's bound to be elevating the temperatures and pressures in the tyres. Here's the balance of the TCR field coming in, including the leader, Robert Wickens in the number 33, with that damage on the front. Adam.
Oh, that is quite a bit of damage on the front right of that Hyundai. Now let's see, they put the car up on the air jacks. They are changing the front tires, but they're doing the left front first. Now the driver change is going on. Robbie is out, and in gets Mark Wilkins, local Canadian hero. Very happy to be racing where he will be next weekend. Just walking around to the right side. Yes, John, you are correct as far as the windscreen is concerned. The black piece that's just sort of covering it, not really holding it in place, but just making it so that you can't access any sort of screws or whatnot on the upper arm. There goes Wickens. He's released. I don't think that should be a continuing problem for that car, though. Good news for Hyundai.
Well, I did think that this circuit here at Watkins Glen International was going to be an absolute beast of a job for these cars, front-wheel drive cars in TCR. However, the number 43, that's the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW M4 left front wheel just come in there punctured. It's even the rear wheel drive cars that are really struggling, and like Jeremy says, when you go over the curb, it's not so much going over the curb, it's coming back on, because the inside edge of the curb tends to be a little bit sharper than the front edge, and I think that can only be the thing that's costing these teams so much time with these punctured tyres.
So, pit stops, and here's another puncture, right rear this time, for the number 95 BMW. This is the Turner car, and this is Dylan McIvern out of, what, 5th position. And this car has this is its 2nd time into the pit lane, but this time we can't do the driver change. So Bill Oberlin getting into that car, and it'll be 4 Michelins to take that car to the end with 54 minutes to go.
That must have happened pretty late in the lap, I think. He was fairly lucky, I think, there, Dylan McIvern, assuming there's no other damage to that car. They're going to pull that right rear off the car and put another one on there. But yeah, that's there's not much left of that tyre for the Michelin engineers to go over. Pit stops also for the one of the leaders, the 2nd place car in TCR comes in. That's Victor Gonzalez, also in number 55, which is Trevor Andrusko, who was running in the 2nd position before, just now. So we need to, Eric Foss needs to get that car onto pit lane fairly soon, I would have thought.
Well, the number 77, the Brian Herter Autosport Hyundai Elantra, started the race on pole position, took an opportunity with the full course caution to come in. Well, now it's stop to change driver. Mason Philippi has now handed the wheel of that car to Tyler Maxson. Let's get the inside story from Mason. Give him a chance to get his breath and get some water down in first, though.
As the leader is in the pit lane, as we have a full course caution.
Yeah, there you go.
So did they get in time? That is going to be the question. When did the full course caution come out? I will tell you in just a second. At 52 minutes and 33 seconds. And looking through, I think they were in beforehand with that number 56. Yes, they were, 52.27. So they got in 5 seconds before the full course caution came out. This is brilliant stuff for the Mosing Motorcars Murillo Racing Machine. Perhaps a tiny bit close to the wall, but they've managed to make the stop happen. Let's quickly try and find out why we've got the full course caution.
Probably for debris, I would think, and I think they waited until kind of all the cars had come around. They just about got
21.
in. Hugh Plum was unlucky there. He was the next car in line and wasn't quite able to get in, but he did have the opportunity to come in last time around. Didn't take it. So he's going to be the only one of the GS cars who's not, actually the only car period, who's not yet stopped. That's car number 46 will be leading the race.
Mason, we knew this was going to be a frantic race, but even I'm surprised at just how frantic. What was it like from where you were?
I mean, we had a clean start. We're hanging out in the front, and then that restart came about. I mean, it was crazy in front of us, so I'm sure it was entertaining to watch. It wasn't too entertaining for me. I was just hoping for some good racing out there, and it was good racing. It was tough.
It must be really frustrating. I know the saying is endurance races are won on the pit wall. When you pitted under yellow and then found yourself back in the midfield, you've got to then wait for the race to come back to you, I would imagine.
Yeah, you have to wait for the race to come back to you, and just make sure you keep your car clean and get that second driver in there. That way you can go out there for the win. And so our Brian Hurt Autosport crew did amazing on our second pit stop, and so hopefully we're in a prime position to go for the win.
Thank you, Mason. I'll let you get cooled down.
Robert Wickens out of the 33 Hyundai. It was fun out there. It looked frenetic, but did you enjoy that stint?
Yeah, it was crazy. It's a lot of fun when you have a great handling car. You know, everyone at Brian Hurt Autosport Hyundai. I just heard what Mason was talking about. It's the same thing here. I mean, our cars, we have so much. Like the setup's just dialed in this weekend. You know, I think the BOP is fair, but I don't know. We're just in the window in the sweet spot, and it's feeling good.
How'd you get the damage on the car? It really surprised me when it came in, and it was, well, not perfect.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
How'd you get the damage on the car? It surprised me when the car came in and it wasn't perfect.
Yeah, on the first yellow when everyone came in, it just kind of like concertined at the pit commit line. And I was kind of surprised because I was already at pit lane speed at 60 kilometers an hour, and then everyone just started slowing down. And I tried what I could, but I just touched Parker a little bit. It seems like we're fine and he's fine, so no harm done.
Awesome. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Wow, that looked like far more significant damage to have cracked the front splitter and the right front wheel arch, the guard, and to have knocked out the right-hand side windscreen steer as well.
Yeah, he probably just caught it at the wrong angle. Yeah, because he braked and jinked left to try and miss the back of his teammate in front of him, and doing so he sort of went across the back corner of the number 98 car, and just sort of, you know, that angle of attack, so to speak, between those two cars was not beneficial at all.
Joe Bradley with Murillo Racing and Kenny Murillo out of the number 72 AMG.
Kenny, I've got to say, this race has got the feel of like walking into a casino and seeing what you come out with.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult out there. It's track got a little dirty there, so it was really just trying to maintain the tire and make sure that we had the tire in the end to fight. You know, cars are so close. We're making up our times at different spots, and it's been a lot of fun racing my good friend Eric Filgaris, and you know, being lined up next to Pat Gallagher too. It's just, you know, great friends and just had a lot of fun.
I suppose the usual tactic in long-distance racing is not to be dragged into any kind of real racing, but you haven't got a choice with 2 hours, have you?
No, I mean, ultimately the goal is to hand over the car nice and clean, which I think we did so. So it's really up to Christian Shimshak to you know, put in the dirty work and whatever he needs to do to win. So it's going to be really difficult with that Porsche being so fast. So I don't know, just a lot of fun and happy to be here.
You got the fuel to go at the end?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, maybe? Yes, no?
I'll ask you, Chief. Thanks, Ken.
It's a great job saving the tyres, and Eric just saying how, Kenny Murillo rather, just saying how important that was that they held that a little bit of tyre performance back to the end of the race.
I think his team boss will be happy with that being his dad, by the way.
Yes, indeed. Robin Liddell, by the way, back up to 8th position after that unscheduled stop. Slightly unscheduled stop, remember. We had the puncture for Frank Depew, and then he handed over just after the 40-minute mark. Parker Chase is the lead TCR. He's in 6th position overall. Hugh Plum leads the race for the number 46 Team TGM, but that car, Jeremy, has not yet stopped, has it? The 46 TGM?
Correct, that's the only car in the whole field that hasn't pitted. The ones behind him there, number 59, 22, 65 and 09, they have not changed drivers either. They have pitted, they pitted under during our earlier caution to top off with fuel, but not yet changed drivers either. So the first of the car that has changed its driver is Robbie Foley in 7th position, and then behind him is Robin Liddell in 8th position, and then on down, everybody else pretty much has changed drivers, so they're good to go from that perspective. They're going to need a lot of caution to get to the end from here, but hopefully there won't be that, and it'll be you know, they will need another stop to get to the end of the race.
Parker Chase has stopped, of course. He came in that early Schmozzle, and that was the car that got hit in the rear corner by Robert Wiggins.
But he of the TCRs has not changed drivers.
Correct.
Nor of the 2nd and 3rd place cars. That'd be Mike Lamara and in number 73, and the number 1 car of Taylor Hagler, she remains at the wheel of that car
they start
as well.
Right
so,
at the back, of course, so they had to do something a little bit different in that number 1 car. Having a bit of, taking a bit of an opportunity to sweep up some of the debris as well. Beautiful part of the world here in Finger Lakes, upstate New York. Good to have your company wherever you are, coming up to 11 o'clock in Central Europe, 10 o'clock in the UK on a Saturday night. Hope you've had a good weekend so far. Lots of motorsport for you from Super Saturday as we round off our coverage today with the Tioga Downs Casino 120 and 46 minutes of it still to go. Don't forget, tomorrow we throw our airwaves open for the Sailings, 6 hours of the Glen. Warm up at 8 o'clock local time in the morning, and then we'll start our Michelin countdown to green at 10 before the 10:40 green flag, and our Michelin post-race tech will wind things up at the end of the day. And we are looking for our Michelin moment of the race in this as well. That's down to our commentary team to talk about and to decide one moment of the race, either from the driver or the team, that has made the biggest difference. One nomination for GS, one for TCR, and there's a brand new set of Michelin race tyres up for grabs for the team that wins that. It could be the winner of the class, it could be someone else entirely. It's not always been the class winners who've taken away the Michelin moment of the race, and we'll let you know our thinking on that closer to the end of the race. But I'm saying that right now just to remind Joe and Shea down in the pit lane, as well as Jeremy and I as well up here in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre, working this caution then with the at the moment this is the second full course yellow, and we've been under full course yellow for just over 28 minutes. This is the 8th lap of full course yellow. 3.4 miles around, of course, does mean that there's not a whole host of laps, but what it does do is make those caution periods quite long if you have to do an extra lap, because at the moment they are lapping round about 3.5 minutes to get the cars through. Pits are open for the GS cars, for those who decide they want to come in. Or is that an old message? Oh, that must have just come out. GS teams are getting ready. I would say, Jeremy, GS, even at full speed and no more yellows, they can go from here. 44 minutes, 43, 42 minutes. Yeah, that's a no-brainer, isn't it, for the GS teams at the front. And Hugh Plum's in, Bob McCalion's in, Nick Gallant's in, Brett Mosing's in. Parker Chase has come into the pit lane as well in the TCR leader, so he must be coming in for emergency service. He can only take 5 seconds of fuel and would have to go back out again. Who stayed out? That's the most important thing. Kenton Cook from Murillo Racing, the number 56 team. Christian Simchak from Murillo Racing, he stays out. Of course, all the TCRs are staying out, so the next GS car is the Core Motorsports number 60 of Nate Stacey, who stays in. Shea Adam, who's come in, and what's going on?
Well, as you rightly said, Hugh Plum came into the pit lane. That was his first visit down all race to come and see us, because he is handing over to Matt Plum. So the 46 is doing full service. It's fuel only for the 64 Team GPM. Left side tires only for Robbie Foley and the 96 Turner Motorsport BMW. I checked in with the team. Vin Barletta did make drive time. It was left side tires only for the Volt Aston Martin, and who was the other car we saw? No, I'll follow up on the Hyundai. Joe?
Well, the 59 has been brought in by Bob McCallion, the Core Motorsports Ford Mustang. He's handed that over to his teammate Billy Johnson. This is the car that took on fuel in in the first of the cautions. So this is perhaps the car's most definite last pit stop. I'll give Bob a chance to get his helmet off, and we'll grab a word. In from second place, by the way, guys.
Yeah, and a big shake-up at the front of the field. I think Hugh Plum was the quickest out of the pits for the cars that did stop in the number 46 car, and Shea Adam has more.
It's Matt Plum now behind the wheel of that one. They've done their driver change.
You're right, it is. It's just changed over. Let's have a word with Bob McCallion, who's with Joe Bradley.
Hey, Bob, you brought the Core Motorsport Mustang in second place. Must be happy with that.
Yeah, turn it over to Billy and see what he can do. It's been a good event so far for us. He's got a fresh set of tires. He's got the Michelins on him. Hopefully we can do something at the front. We got sort of caught out with that yellow a little bit early, but it is what it is. We got to deal with it.
I can't help but see there's an element of jeopardy with the way that the dice roll with when the yellows appear.
Yeah, we were talking on the radio. Do we come? Do we not come? And yeah, we just missed it by a lap.
We talk about the track temperature. What's the temperature like in the car?
Yeah, it's hot out there, but I'm telling you, the Michelin stick, it's amazing to see the tire drag isn't that much towards the end of the stint, so it's impressive.
Great stuff. I'll leave you to it, Bob.
That was the previous pit stop, the previous yellow that he was talking about there, not this one, obviously. They just couldn't get in time. Shea Adam, what happened with our TCR leader? Because he came in the pits and the pits weren't open for him. Did he drive straight through?
Well, I'm looking at Parker Chase, so no, he must have stopped at his box and gotten out of the car. I'm also looking at another driver who's very warm, having just gotten out of the car, Hugh Plum. That was a long stint. Was that the plan for you to take that car deep into the race the whole time?
Yeah, I think with all those yellows, it was just kind of a smarter move to stay out and conserve. And, you know, good Lord willing, we made it to into the pits. The pits opened, so we ducked in. But yeah, it's hot. It's hot in that car. But TGM guys did an awesome job on pit road, and Matt's in the car, so all is good.
How close were you on fuel when he came in then?
Oh my God, not enough to get down pit road, I thought, but thank God. Thanks.
He made it, John.
Not making it is the Travis Hill and Eddie Killeen to TH Motorsport 26 car. That car's been parked at the side of the road. It's crawling along at the moment and may just make it into the pit lane. This is one of the new second evolutions of the Audi RS3. Different bodywork at the back. It has the reverse swan neck mount for the rear wing. It's one way of telling it from the original car. It's just coming through to the final two corners now, but it was definitely stopped, and the very distinctively liveried machine, I think, will now get to the pit lane, but that is not a happy car at the moment. And Shea Adam is down in the pit lane doing some digging for the Hyundai 98, which came into the pit lane when it was closed for TCRs.
How long is left on the clock right now, John? Less than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
They would have missed drive time, so they had to come in when the pits were open for GS and do their pit stop. They'll have to come back in when the pits are open for everyone and then make a drive-through under green flag conditions. But that ensures that Parker Chase is not going to lose out on points for today. That was a very good call from the Brian Hurd Autosports guys.
Ah, I see. So they've, Shea, they can't do a driver change in emergency service.
No, but they weren't taking emergency service. They served their pit stop in the wrong opportunity, the wrong pit stop window. But if they hadn't done the driver change at all, they would have blown drive time and then automatically been moved to the back of the field. This time, at least they've got a chance to move their way back up after serving all the penalties.
Okay, understand. So we'll watch to see how that happens. That's bad luck for them, but what they have done is try to make the best of a bad job. The racer tape on the front of the number 28 RS1 Porsche has not stuck, and that means that the front end is lifting again. Shea mentioned that they put it on at an angle. I think there was two reasons for that. One, to try and cover the most of the area they could, but what they didn't want to do was cover the air intakes on the front of that car. There are some air intakes right by where the hood drops down, or the luggage compartment cover as it is, but that is not going to stay stuck down very much longer. Bad luck there then, Jeremy, for the Hyundai Brian Hurd Autosport, but they're thought on their feet. We've seen people dither about that and then blow the 40 minutes left in the race, which drops them immediately to the tail end of the field in terms of points. They were thinking season long, not race long there.
True, and you've got to look at the big picture, haven't you? And they knew what they needed to do. They're on top of the regulations there, and you just got to do. If you have to serve a penalty, it's better to be put automatically to the back of the field. This gives you an opportunity to move up through again. I'm not sure why number 15. Oh, I'm not sure why number 15 car hasn't taken the wave round, or the number 99 come to that, because number 99 car hasn't been lapped by the leader in TCR, so should be going past the safety car and running around to the back of the field, as several other cars are doing right now. So I think VGRT has missed an opportunity there for it's Carl Whitmer who's driving that car, so he should know the rules. He's been around, or he and his brothers have been around this sport a long, long time.
Final wave by is commencing right now.
Yeah, and the teams are not told to take that wave round. It's up to the teams themselves.
Yeah, there's no numbers read out.
Drivers know, that's right.
Commence final wave by will be
has he gone now?
on the channel. They have gone.
Okay,
they have gone now. Shea Adam has been doing some digging about what constitutes emergency service and whatnot. First of all, we should explain emergency service. If you were running out of fuel, if you had bodywork hanging off, if you had a puncture, far better to come into the pits, even if the pits are closed for your category, than to cause another problem out on the track. And that's what emergency service regulations were brought in for many years ago in IMSA, and other series have followed suit. It's basically 5 seconds of fuel if you need fuel, or fix the problem that would give you an issue. So what constitutes your emergency service?
Well, it is a problem if your driver is about to exceed minimum drive time, or if they're having some sort of a health issue, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are changing the driver, and that's the only service you're doing, that does constitute emergency service. The 98 just came back down the pit lane when the pits were open for everyone. It did proper service, i.e. changing the front tires and fully refueling the car. That went back out with Harry Gottsacker. Now keep an eye open to see if they come back down the pit lane when the green flag is out to serve a drive-through penalty, or if race control deems that they have fulfilled the requirements for emergency service by coming back down this time, which in my book, they did.
Okay, thank you, Shea. Great explanation there from Shea Adam. We're doing the GS class split now, which will bring all the GT4 cars ahead of all the TCR cars. TCR leader is Mark Wilkins in the number 33 Brian Herter Autosport machine that he took over from Robert Wickens. So he stays to the left-hand side. He's no... yes, he's not a silly person, is he? I'm staying on the racing line. You want to go past me? Go off the racing line from 7 towards 8. So we're probably a lap away, Jeremy, from going back to green. We're going to have around about a half an hour of a dash to the flag. And as far as fuel is concerned, I think everybody at the sharp end of the field is going to be all right.
Yeah, I think so. You know, the least well off is the number 28 car of Stephen McAleer. He was the first car
he's done 8 laps
to stop. Yeah, he came in like 27. Number 72 car, which is currently running in second position, was in a lap later than that, and that was about 3 laps before we went to caution. But now we're going back to green, as you say, 33 minutes and change remaining.
Coming back to green rather quicker than I expected, if I'm honest. 34 minutes near enough as they came to the line, and the restart is pretty clean. And already that RS1 Porsche trying to make up some positions after having to make that stop. The tape is barely holding on. All of the pink tape is gone. It's only the bright yellow that is still there. And that little Porsche picking its way through the bigger cars. Bigger in every way as well. Kenton Cookman leading for Murillo Racing with his Murillo Racing teammates. Christian Simchak just 3/10 behind him. The two Tangerine AMG GT4s coming out of the inner loop and towards turn 5. Behind them, it's Nate Stacey for Core Motorsports in the number 60 RS1, Stephen McAleer in 4th position. Behind him, the lighter coloured FCP Euro by Rika. That's the Mercedes AMG GT, the white with blue on that car. 3 MX5 Cup champions in a row in this run into the sharp end of the field. 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Kenton Cook, Christian Simchak and Nick Stacey. Stephen McAleer, of course, is a co-owner of the Idemitsu Mazda MX5 Cup team. Stephen, the champion, Nate Stacey, so 3 out of the top 4 at the moment. Robin Liddell carving his way back, Jeremy.
Yeah, making a move around the outside of Chad McCumbee in the pink Mustang coming out of turn 7 up the hill towards 8. So he's on the charge forward now as well. But Stephen McAleer, he's clearly got a really, really good car if that tape is not going to be an issue for him.
Yeah, behind the wall for the 2 TH Autosport, Travis Hill and Eddie Killeen, number 26, the Wilmington Trust Audi car has not had a great run. It was going to have a penalty anyway, stop build 60 for running the light at the pit exit. Also a penalty for the Bellegarde and Technisail car, the Denis Dupont and Alex Rockwell car. That was for running the light at pit, excuse me, that was working outside the pit box. That will be a drive-through, and another car slow on the track is another one of the Elantras.
The pole sitting car.
This is the car that was on pole, the number 77. Oh my goodness me, it's drama piled upon drama. Mason Filippi handed the car to Tyler Maxson, and Tyler is going very slowly from turn 8 onwards. So still got a third of the lap or so to go, still over 30 minutes. Now can he get that car back to the pit lane? Leaders in TCR battling away further up the field. Mark Wilkins, John Morley having a cracking run for Road Shagger Racing. Gavin Ernstone was very aggressive and elbows out at the start of the race. I saw him making up positions. He'll be delighted to see the car going so well. The problem that they've got is the number, is that the 99 or the 09 that they've got between them? It's the 09, Rob Eklund Jr., Automatic Racing, Aston Martin, between them and the leader in TCR. And that's going to be a difficult car for them to get past. Pits are closed. This is going to be for the 77 car, stopped on the exit of turn 9. And Joe Bradley has word on the car that's gone behind the wall. Was that the number 26 Audi, Joe?
No, it's the 77, the car that's brought out this this caution. It's a driveline failure. They've got no drive.
Right, thank you, Joe. 26, the 2 TH car behind the wall, if you didn't catch that a moment or two ago. Jeremy?
Yeah, no luck for that 77 team, it seems, this season. They've been super fast, had 3 pole positions this year in 5 races, which is pretty impressive. And the results just haven't been there to back it up, and not really through their fault. They were involved in an accident at Sebring, which again I think that was somebody else's accident, if I remember rightly, that they got involved in. But the car has been super fast. The best they've had is a 7th and 8th and a 9th so far, and it's going to be worse than that here today.
I'm indebted to Nate Siebens over in the media centre for just confirming what we were mentioning earlier on about the emergency service requirements for the number 98 Hyundai. It was fulfilled when they came back in for the full service, so they will not have to do a drive-through. So that has fulfilled the requirements for the 98. So smart thinking from the guys at Brian Herter Autosport. Smart thinking and Brian Herter Autosport, by the way, go together very nicely indeed. And that has kept that team in the hunt. Now, they've dropped down through the field to 10th position, but Harry Gottsacker is still on the lead lap in TCR, and therefore still in with a chance, Jeremy, of coming back through the field. So quick thinking. Now, it's a quick yellow, so we will not have wave by, but we will get a class split. So the GS cars can come to the front, the pits will not open, and there will not be any wave by.
Right, and this caution period is certainly good news in TCR for the number 99 car, because that had not yet caught up. It had got the wave around, but it was late taking it, and he hadn't yet caught up to the back of the field because he was trapped behind somebody else. Which car was he running behind? Number 99. He's behind the number 15, I think, and they didn't get going, Denis Dupont. But they are both those two now back on the lead lap. Yeah. And now onto the train of cars ahead of them.
The 15 is going to have to come back in, though. Wasn't that the car that had the penalty for working outside the pit box? So that'll be a drive-through when we go back to green. Yes, it was. That was at about 10 minutes ago, just a little bit more than that. And that car has not yet been back to the pit lane. So we're waiting for the Tyler Maxson number 77 Hyundai to be recovered back to the pit lane, but a short yellow called. That means within 15 minutes of the previous one, it is up to the race control, but they can make it what is called a short yellow, and that means that everything that I mentioned earlier on does or doesn't happen. So GS split has happened, but no pass around, no pits opening, and we've already lost the safety car, so we're about to go back green, Jeremy.
Yeah, we are going back green. Another guy to watch here is Mike Skeen in 4th position in an FPC Euro car. He's fast.
He's very fast indeed. There's some very fast drivers at the front of the field. I'd add Bill Orbel into that. He's in 5th in the number 95. In fact, he's in 4th by the time he goes across the line because he pulled out really early, and Oberlin had passed by the time they got to the line. That's fine. As soon as green is called, you can get going. And he rather jumped Mike Skeen there in the FCP Euro by Rika. That's the white and blue AMG. And Oberlin's got an awesome restart. He's already right in behind Stephen McAleer as they go over the top of the hill at the uphill climbing S's. Now, that BMW not as quick in a straight line as the very small as well. There's a touch between the RS1 car and the number 72 Murillo Racing as Stephen McAleer elbows out, goes through into 2nd place. He also pushed Christian Shimchak to the lead over Kenton Cook, his teammate there, and that was a significant dunch on the front of the car. You know what? I think he straightened the bonnet on that car when he did that. You're not going to believe it. I really think he has. That's extraordinary. It's not nowhere near popping up as much as it was before. So whether that was deliberate or not from Stephen McAleer, he's moved up into 2nd place, and he may have cured the problem with the luggage compartment cover on that white, black and yellow Cayman, now in 2nd place. And Simchak is setting off into the distance. And it looks as though Kenton Cook is not able to get his tyres up to temperature and pressure as quick as those around. He's gone from leading on the restart down to 4th as Bill Oberlin goes up into 3rd, and now Mike Skeen will have a sniff around the exhaust pipes of that Mostly Tangerine car, and Robin Liddell's right there as well in the white and green. That's the Rebel Rock Racing car. This is quality at the front of the field, and we've still got 25 minutes to go, Jeremy.
Yeah, superb stuff there, and it was not quite sure what happened to Kenton there. Did he get just shuffled out then when the Porsche pushed?
Correct.
Shimjak through? Yeah, really unfortunate, because Kenton Cook has been absolutely stellar since getting this ride a couple of races ago. He came on board that Murillo team as Robin Liddell goes around the outside there of Mike Skeen at turn 1.
Lovely
that car
pass.
is fast.
Yeah.
That Camaro is fast, and Robin Liddell is really doing a nice job with it there. Super pass. But Kenton Cook, he's filling in for Jeff Mosing, who suffered an injury away from the racetrack. He looked to the inside, did Robin Liddell, and then dived super late braking around the outside. That Camaro looks huge, doesn't it? But it is so nimble. And Robin Liddell, a really great move around the outside of Mike Skeen.
Possible nominee for the Michelin moment of the race for GS there, as he went the long way around turn 1 and is immediately setting about Kenton Cook. That's the next challenge for Robin Liddell. That's 4th position right ahead of him. Christian Simchak has set sail at the front, 0.6 of a second between him and Stephen McAleer. That piece of bright highlight, the yellow tape, somehow hanging on to the front of that car. But I do think that he's slightly straightened out the issue that he had before, whether that's just because he's pushed the valance in a little bit and it's changed the way the aero's on the front of the car, I'm not sure. But Bill Oberlin, Bill Power for Turner BMW. Is this going to be a taco weekend? That is the standard operational procedure. If they get on the top step of the podium, they're side by side, 2nd and 3rd coming out at 9, but the Porsche just gets the power down a little better than the BMW. Meantime, Robin Liddell goes another outside move, this time at turn 10, and now he's up into 4th position, and it's only the 3 leaders ahead of him. Liddell with a sniff of victory. He will not hold anything back if he thinks he's got a chance of this. And another car that has stopped on the track, that's one of the Hondas. It's the number 73 car. That's the Mike Lamara and Ryan Eversley LA Honda World Racing car. That stopped at the side of the track. Get your passes done now. We could have another full course yellow. That's at turn 7. At the toe of the boot, just coming out of it and heading up the hill towards turn 8. There's a little bit of smoke coming out of the left rear of that car. And that 73, I'm afraid to say, I don't think that's going any further. It is Ryan Eversley at the wheel of that car at the moment. Skeen goes past Kenton Cook, so he goes up into 5th position. Kenton Cook just not getting the rub of the green here. Had a pretty decent start, actually, from the restart. But when Simchak was pushed through, I wonder if there was a little side-by-side contact and there's a little bit of damage on Kenton's car. Simchak then leading for Murillo Racing by a second at the line. This is the tangerine and blue car. Comes round the outside. Yellow flags at turn number 7, so no overtaking there. But for the moment, they're leaving Ryan Eversley in that car where it is and letting the cars race. He's miles off the racing line on the inside. I'm not sure you can leave it there for 20 minutes, Jeremy, but I kind of like that call at the moment with double yellows into turn 7. Pits are closed, and we have gone to full course yellow. The whole field has gone by. And that gives the opportunity right now to make this another quick yellow. And yeah, it's already called as a short yellow. There's a rescue unit just one corner behind here. So if that car will tow, they might be able to get away with maybe 1 or 2 yellow flag laps. 21 minutes to go, and we're back under full course yellow.
It's a shame. Because the race was just getting going there, and boy, was it
developing
nicely. Well, he is, and he's got a fantastically fast car. I mean, he's made some bold moves there around the outside. He had to use all the exit road there, well over the track limits there in turn 10. So, and he did the same down in turn 1, so he's got a little bit careful about that. He doesn't incur the wrath of the stewards for taking advantage of using the outside extremities of the racetrack here, so he's got to be a little bit careful about that, but he's charging hard, as Robin did. That was great to see. Christian Simchak, what a job he is doing at the front right now. He's won in all sorts of things in the past. You were talking a while ago about he's one of the former MX5 Cup champions, as is Stephen McAleer right behind him. But for Simchak, he's a great character, is Christian, by the way. We've known him for a long time, since the Barber Dodge Pro Series days, 20 years ago? Probably, no, maybe, 20 years ago now, probably.
Can't
probably. Yeah, probably is. But he's had 2 second-place finishes in this championship in his 35 previous starts. And he was out of racing for a few years, but he's come back now with Kenny Murillo. They raced in the SRO Series last season, and had some success there.
Christian
and
ran
moving
in
into
Mazda.
this year, and
Christian ran in Mazda as well.
Yeah. He was a champion. Wasn't he a champion in?
Well, I remember him.
Sure
I remember him being a multiple pole sitter. It seemed like every time we were talking about Paul, well, that's going back a while, because that was the. I think he did 4 or 5 in a row in one of the seasons. It's going back 5 or 6 years to when it was previously when the Mazda MX-5 Global Cup, as it was called there, now the Idemitsu Mazda MX-5 Cup, when it was previously on the IMSA package. And Christian was a pole maestro for a goodly portion of the season. Wasn't he, and Shea will remember this because she did the call of that with me, wasn't it Christian the one that ran yellow wheels for a while?
Oh, good thought on that. I don't remember him. He was a champion in the MX-5 Cup back in 2011 or so.
Was
so
it that far back?
He was well before our time, but he ran in ST in a Mazda. And
that's what I'm thinking about. So it was a Mazda, but it was in ST.
Yeah, it was 21 years ago he ran in the Barber Dodge Pro Series.
Wow.
And he was a real character back there, just super guy. And then he was out of racing for quite a few years, concentrating on his businesses, one of which is he's a developer of low-income multifamily apartments, actually.
Good for him.
Yeah, exactly. And he was in the tech business before that. But it's 2013 that he won the MX-5 Cup Championship, and with that a scholarship, as you say, to move on up the ladder from there, and he came into this series, as Shea was saying, in a Mazda.
Denis Dupont in the number 15 Technisail and Bellegarde car has had a Control-Alt-Delete moment out on the circuit, but he has got the car moving again. That is the number 15 Bellegarde and Technisail Audi RS3 LMS. That's got the DSG gearbox, 11th in TCR after that drive-through. The GS class split is going on, so we'll be going back to green as soon as we get Ryan Eversley and his stricken Honda off the circuit. It's on a flat toe at the moment behind one of the Chevy safety trucks, and he'll go straight on at turn number 8 because there's a cutout there that'll put him onto the infield And I think he wanted to tow back to the pits there. Sorry, Ryan, don't get the choice of that.
Yeah, and right before we went to yellow here, the Alpha of Tim Lewis made up a couple of positions. Well, one position here. He got past the number 2 car of Ryan Norman. So up into second place now in TCR is that number 5 Alfa Romeo. And Mark Wilkins still leads it. Great to see Mark back with us this weekend after having to miss the most recent race at Mid-Ohio. It was an emergency with a family emergency there, but great to hear that all is well there. And he's back here at the wheel, and he and having taken over from Robbie Wickens, they're leading this race.
Unexpected birth of daughter, and mother and daughter
complications.
Yes, indeed. Mother and daughter doing very well now, we hear, and that's good news. Best wishes from all of his IMSA family to his family back at home. Just a note that Michael Lewis is holding on to 7th position in the number 1. Taylor Hagler, of course, started that car right at the back. They tried a bit of tricky strategy to get them further up the field, and it seems to have worked. They've got a car that will go to the end, and of course now behind the safety car, the full TCR field is packed up, as is the GS field at the front. It's led at the moment by Christian Simchak, but Stephen McAleer in second has got clearly a very good car. I'm still slightly worried by the Porsche Naples front end of that car, because it is still not quite sealing on the front end. I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like someone has popped the hood, popped the bonnet, and it's just hanging on the catch. I'm sure that's not the case, but you know when you drive off and you can see it just moving up and down, if you've banged the keys in your pocket, and you've got on a Porsche in particular, there's a push button for the front and the back on your key, particularly on the 718 Boxsters and Caymans, and it just looks like it's popped up. I'm sure that's not the case, as I say. Maybe a little bit of damage earlier on. Stephen tried to put it right, didn't he, on the back of Christian Simchak on that restart. Let's see if he can get it to the end. Going to be 14 minutes to go when the green flag flies again, which it will do in one more corner. The safety car lights are out, and Simchak will bring them to the line, and the green flag is in hand and waves right now, just as they come out of the final corner. That gives a real opportunity for Bill Oberlin. He was on the gas really early, and he's dragging up alongside the Porsche. He's there now. He'll take second position, unless Stephen McAleer can tough it out on the outside, which he's trying to do. They're all off the track. Here comes Robin Liddell saying, thanks very much, lads. I'll have a little bit of this as well. And through goes Oberlin into second, and immediately onto the rear bumper of the AMG GT that leads for Christian Simchak. Great restart by the Turner Motorsport driver Bill Oberlin. Fair to say he's done 1 or 2 of those in his time, and it's 3 wide coming down the back straight. Liddell had to back out of that one and just give the cars ahead of him an opportunity to go and fight their battles, the green and white. The Rebel Rock racing car now right in behind Stephen McAleer. Those two know each other very well. All of these drivers know each other very well. The circus comes to town once. Oh, there's a little bit of a touch on the grass there. Round the outside, Mike Skeen in the white and blue AMG at turn 6.
Anything you can do to me, I can do to you, says Mike Skeen. Doesn't quite pull it off there. Robin Liddell just about stays ahead. Has to defend down into turn 7 there, but also challenging is Kenton Cook, right in that battle as well. Of course, Kenton Cook, he's got to think about championship, not for himself, but his co-driver Eric Foss, who is second in points coming into this weekend. And if they can stay up front here, could well take the championship lead for Eric Foss.
New lease of life for that car after a bit of a tardy restart last time around, but maybe another heat cycle into the tyres. Also watch out for Trent Hinman, who restarted in, I think, 10th position.
Right. He's back in the fray, isn't he?
And he's really back in the fray in that bright yellow car. They struggled with a puncture earlier on, or a tyre issue. On that car, but the yellows have really helped them out. They've worked the strategy quite well.
And got back on the lead lap.
And got back on the lead lap.
I'd forgotten about that, to be perfectly honest. Well pointed out, yes. Right back in the frame is Trent Hinman. You never count him out, that's for sure.
Matt Plum and Owen Trinkler for TGM. They're both on the lead lap, but they're a little bit further back down the line. So that's been some Nice strategy there. Now, Stephen McAleer in third. Let's go to the lead of the TCR category. And that is still Mark Wilkins ahead of Tim Lewis by about a second as they cross the line, heading up through the S's. Now, the problem that he's going to have in about half a lap to a lap's time is he's going to start catching the back of the GS field. The front of the GS field, side by side. Bill Oberlin into the inner loop. He's done a brilliant manoeuvre. Is that the Michelin moment of the race? Here comes McAleer around the outside, and Robin Liddell. There has been some stunning overtaking manoeuvres today. And that one for the lead of the race is absolutely right up there. Here comes Skeen again, braking super late, sliding it round almost like a block pass motocross style. So it's now new leader, Bill Oberlin, and he's got a bit of a gap. Back to Stephen McAleer in second, Simchak in third, Robin Liddell and Mike Skeen are in fourth position because they're side by side through turn 7. Extraordinary, brilliant Michelin Pilot challenge at its best.
Absolutely mega. And we've got Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Chevrolet, and Ford all in the thick of this battle. And Aston's not far behind as well. In fact, he's right there now, isn't he? With Trent Hinman in that ninth-ish position. But what a move that was from Bill Oberlin. And for Turner Motorsport, looking to bounce back, they had a really good run going at Mid-Ohio. Just ran out of fuel on the final lap, which was just a killer blow. They just didn't quite get the fuel in that they thought they had. And so he's looking to bounce back from that, but boy, what a race.
Robbie Foley in the second turn of BMW's right there as well. Bill Oberlin has streaked off into the distance. Here comes Robin Liddell on Simchak, but that Murillo Racing Mercedes, the blue and orange car, is very quick indeed. Now, whilst this fighting is going on behind, Bill Oberlin is giggling away in his full-face helmet as he is pulling away to the tune of a second and a half. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th and 11th are all pretty much in a line behind him.
And despite having made that pass, or perhaps because of it, he's just set his best lap of the race, Bill Oberlin.
Of course he has.
56.212.
Well, that's because he didn't brake at all going into the inner loop.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can take this flat. Oh, I'll give it a go. Brilliant stuff from Oberlin. And now a little bit of a gap from Stephen McAleer back to Simchak, and here comes Robin Liddell. Also Kenton Cook right there with Mike Skeen. Cook seems to have a second lease of life on that set of Michelins. Not sure what went wrong for him on the previous restart, but he restarted in the lead and dropped way down to 6th, 7th position. But now he's got a car that looks competitive, and it didn't at the last restart. Here comes the PF Racing car as well, the bright pink machine for Chad McCumbee. Then Trent Hinman for Volt Racing, Nate Stacey for Core Motorsport, and Robbie Foley in 10th position. So other than Oberlin, who's away by a second and a half, there's barely 2 or 3 cars lengths between the rest of them. And down the inside, Hinman at turn 8 on the PF Racing number 40. That's a bold manoeuvre, and Chad McCumbee was good enough to give him room, but he sticks on the inside. This is super fair racing, really respectful, and they'll all be enjoying this. Yeah, I know they want to make the pass, but there's going to be a lot of happy drivers at the end of this because they are having super racing. They're all fueled to the end. The yellow flags has helped them with that. Oberlin down to the line. Oh, Stephen McAleer brushing his left-hand side door mirror onto the banded tyres at the exit of the final corner. That's how close he was to the wall last time around. I'm sure there's some blue paint left on that. And now Trent Hinman makes the pass on Chad McCumbee. And that will take him then up into 7th position. Michelin moment of the race for TCR and GS. We'll be talking about that in a minute, but for the moment we have to stay with this battle. It's got to be Oberlin for GS, hasn't it? Anybody going to argue? Unless something else happens, because that was just extraordinary. And it was for the lead. It's Bill.
Unless something else happens. We've got 7.5 minutes remaining, John.
Fair point.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. It was a fantastic pass. We've seen some great moves in this race. It was for the lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the marbles. And because of all this battling, and another best lap last time around, 55.22. That overtook somebody. Okay, fine. Full second faster than that.
The number 1 car from the back of the grid to 7th position by ear at the moment. We've got 6.5 minutes before we have to make. Healthy in that Alfa Romeo is as well.
Yeah. Trent Hinman made up another position on the last lap, so if they get that championship lead for Eric Foss is looking less likely at this stage now, with Trent Hinman making passes in two of the last three laps since restart, moved up from 9th to 7th. That's kind of a 7, that Volt Racing Aston Martin.
And he's now got Kenton Cook, the championship contending car. Although Kenton hasn't done the whole season, but that's the Eric Foss car, and that is the car that is right in front of him, albeit 3/10, nearly 4/10 of a second, but that's right in front of him, let's be honest. TCR's coming to the outer loop now. Mark Wilkins leading it, and in second place. That very different looking Alfa Romeo of Tim Lewis. I love the fact that the Juliet has been allowed in. Are pretty open. You can use any 4 or 5 door front wheel drive car, and 4-cylinder 2-litre engine, and there is a horsepower limitation as well on that car. There's a huge number of eligible cars around the world. It has become the default touring car series, touring car formula. What nobody expected, I think. Marcello Lippi conceived of this formula. I don't think anybody expected to see them doing so well as endurance racing cars, and we've commentated, done the play-by-play on them as well as endurance cars all the way up to 24-hour races, and they've been extremely reliable and provide great racing. Quite aerodynamically stable platforms, very quick through the twisty bits, and fun to drive when they're wet as well, I'm told. When it's wet, I'm told, with the front wheel drive characteristics of that car, pulling you through the damp patches. No ABS on the sprint cars, but you can have it on anything over an hour, so it is an option for the IMSA cars. Although in fairness, all the drivers I've talked to said unless you're absolutely rocky at the brake pedal, there's so much downforce from high speed, it's quite hard to lock the wheels. So 33 leads.
Yeah, pulled out another half a second on that lap too. 3.2 seconds. Bill Oberlin leads this race by at the moment, looking to get himself back in the championship reckoning. And Robbie Wickens looking on nervously there as his good friend Mark Wilkins leads this class in the number 33 car. The best finish for that pair this season, and therefore for Robbie Wickens, who's new to the championship this season. They did have a 3rd place finish.
There's been quite a bit of attrition in this race. Riley Motorsports Supra has gone, the Aston Martin from Corsa, the 2TH Motorsport Travis Hill car, Brian Herter's 77, that was the Tyler Maxson car, that had the driveline issue. Ryan Eversley ground to a halt on the circuit in the LA Honda World. Forbush and the Supra number 6, that car, and Thiago Camilo, the last of the most recent of the Supras to go into the pits and not reappear.
There's another position game for Trent Hinman.
He's going, so that means he's past Kenton Cook then.
Yeah,
so that means there's extra points between Hinman and Brynjolfsson and Erik Voss, who is their closest contender in the championship. Stephen McAleer, third in the points, though, is in second at the moment. So it is going to be extremely tight at the head of the field. And here is the battle for leading TCR. And it's still Wilkins versus Lewis. Mark Wilkins takes a slightly, but only slightly, defensive line into the inner loop. These touring cars really monster the curb. Say that, mind, the Alpha was giving the curbs a little bit of respect. The flapping yellow tape on the front of Stephen McAleer's Porsche Cayman. Almost giving up the ghost now. It's got about a minute to hold on. Here comes Robin Liddell looking for a podium position as well. Bill Oberlin is well aware. White flag next time around. Oberlin has pulled out a good lead. No mistakes with the slide rule and the fuel this time for Turner Motorsports. All right, I said it. All right.
Yeah, just one more 3.4 mile lap then for Bill Oberlin. He comes across the line right now. It's battle for second place, so
sounded pretty sweet as he went past us, Jeremy. And the gap at the front of the field over 3 seconds as
Taylor.
Unitronic number 17 Audi. They cannot buy any good luck at the moment.
Crazy.
That car. Here come the TCR leaders. They get the white flag. Another 3.4 miles for them. Bill Oberlin for Turner Motorsport. Our unanimous pick for the Michelin moment of the race. He took the lead with an audacious manoeuvre into the inner loop, the like of which I've not seen before here. And I've watched a lot of motor racing here live and down through the years. TCR, maybe there's one final story to be written as the Alpha is right in the draft. This could be the opportunity. It's the last lap. It's going to be now or never for Tim Lewis. Wilkins knows it and pulls to the middle of the road. Lewis is right there, gets the back end of the Alpha moving around. Huge slide in the middle of the corners for the leading Hyundai, but it's, well, that was fabulous because it was sliding around but took lots of speed out through turn 5 and now down the hill to turn 6.
Great drive this has been from Mark Wilkins. Having missed that last race, he was determined to come back strongly. And for Robbie Wickens also, Robbie had problems in qualifying, late getting out that car out. We did a super job to get that car right up into third position on the grid in just one flying lap. But Bill Oberlin now just 2 corners to go.
2 corners to go for Turner Motorsports. The Michelin moment of the race for GS was that pass for the lead that takes the 95 into taco heaven this Saturday. And the VP Racing Fuels checkered flag goes out for Bill Oberlin. They go wild and Joe Bradley is there.
Dylan, I bet your nerves are shot, are they? 11 minutes to go in this race. Bill made the move and he's just won by over 3 seconds.
Tell you what, that's a long 11 minutes. Finally got the racing gods on our side today. We had a puncture out there just as I was getting out of the car, and the yellow flew at the right time for us to not lose a whole lot of spots. It feels good after Ohio to get a little bit of luck on our side. These Turner Motorsports guys always do such a great job. I mean, it all goes out to these guys executing a pit stop when they didn't have much time to do 4 tires, which I think was huge. Bill was obviously super racy out there, and I think that call really sealed the deal for us.
Congratulations, my man. You guys have just won the race.
And the Michelin moment of the race for that pass for the lead, and our Michelin moment of the race in TCR, Robert Wickens for his stint, and the blast to the front of the field in the number 33 car, notwithstanding the little tap on his teammate as he came in the pit. Shea Adam is down there, and they've won their category as well.
Yeah, it's the first, but I'm sure the first of many wins in this championship for Robbie Wickens. Robbie, go Team Canada, huh?
Yeah, not bad. Mark's such a class act. You know, he was wouldn't want another driver at the end there with the pressure from the Alpha, but we held on strong. Hopefully this is the first win of many to the end of the year.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Congrats.
Thank you.
So our 2 Michelin moments of the race, going unusually to the 2 class winners. Bill Oberlin and the 95 Turner BMW for his pass around the outside in the for the lead, and the outstanding tactics and speed from the number 33 squad. The TCR winners, Mark Wilkins and Robert Wickens for Brian Hurt at Autosport and the Hyundai Elantra. So there are your 2 Michelin moments of the race. And just crossing the line, the number 40.
Yeah.
And when I say just, I mean by about 3 cars' lengths getting across the line.
Was running in 8th place going into that final lap.
And has dropped all the way down the GS standings to 22nd for Chad McCumbee in the PF Racing car.
Yeah, heartbreak for that team because they were up in the points table as well. They're 4th in points coming into this weekend.
Man, the front end of this points table, Jeremy, is going to be shaken up with that 2nd place for the Stephen McAleer RS1 Porsche, with Trent Hinman charging back through the field for Volt Racing to get them into a 6th position ahead of the Kenton Cook car. That's the Murillo Racing Eric Voss car there. That is another one of their championship contending rivals. It's going to really be shaking up at the front of GS. Jeremy will do the arithmetic as quickly as he can. What a race. A little bit broken up by the safety cars. Not always in the right place for everybody. Some people benefited, some people didn't. I know it's only 2 hours, but the strategy has played a part in that. Well, Jeremy Shaw has been doing a quick bit of addition, I think.
Yeah, and right at the front of the pack remains in GS, Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman. They will extend their lead by 10, so 1480, 1,480 points for them, 1340 to Eric Voss in 2nd place.
Let's just come back to that in a second. Stephen McAleer is out of the RS1 Porsche. Let's get a chat with him. Here's Joe Bradley.
Well, that looked like fun.
Sure, if you want to call it like that. So, I mean, we had a fast car today. The Rennsport 1 guys gave us an amazing car. I've got to congratulate my teammate. I mean, he is really blossoming this year. He is fantastic. And nothing on Christian Shimshek there. We had a little bit of contact coming off of the bus stop. He got sideways or side by side with Bill, and we ended up touching, and it really hurt the alignment on this car. So those last 5-6 laps were, let's just say I was hanging on.
That was the fun bit I meant, Stephen.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you that. That was a lot of fun. I wouldn't have minded a slightly better car on the wheel straight. But again, really proud of the team. We got a 2nd place, and we're in with some good guys.
Did that flapping bonnet cause performance?
Yeah, you know, our car was best in Sector 1 all weekend. The Porsches were better than in Sector 1 all weekend just because of how good this thing is through the air. It started to look like a whale shark at the end there and starting to bring it up. So it definitely hurt us a little bit. Not enough that I would say made us P2 instead of P1, but congrats to Bill Oberlin and Dylan. They did a great job today.
Thanks, Steve.
Joe, can you quickly ask him, what did that pass from Bill Oberlin look like from his perspective? Because it looked great from ours.
John's just asked, what did that pass from Bill look like from your perspective? Because it was outstanding from where we were.
Yeah, you know, they did a good job. They went side by side. Bill got me on the restart, and I knew Bill was quicker. So I thought it was probably smart to let him go and see if he would maybe run into Christian for me and help me out. And they did, but it didn't quite work out in my favor. Yeah, again, congrats to the Turner BMW guys. They did a great job, and I had a lot of fun with Christian Shimshek. Last time we raced was MX5 Cup in 2012, so he's not lost any talent.
I know you've got a disappointed look on your face for coming 2nd, but I'm sure on reflection, Stephen, you'll look back at this race as being one of the finest. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, and class act, Stephen McAleer, giving praise where it was due, in fairness to those around him. Sorry, Jeremy, I messed up your arithmetic, but I thought it'd be great to get Stephen just out of the car there. Just start from the top again in GS, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, in GS and in the Drivers' Championships, extending their lead will be the number 7 car, Alan Brynjolfsson, Trent Hinman, 1,480 points to the 1,340 now of Eric Foss. That gap extended then by 10 out to 140 now. In third position will remain Stephen McAleer, who finished in the third position today, so he gets a bit closer.
Second position for McAleer. Second position for McAleer. Third for Simcha.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, second in the race and third in the points.
Yeah,
next up in the points will be Kenny Murillo and Christian Shimjak. Will move up from 8th to 4th, and then from 12th to 5th, Bill Oberlin and Dylan McAvoy, with that win today catapulting them back into contention after 2 poor results.
We'll do TCR after we've heard from the Alpha camp. Here's Joe Bradley.
It's got to be a fan favourite, I've got to say, the Alpha. We love this car. Hey, Tim, that was a great race. We thought you might just do it there at the end.
I tell you what, that was great racing by the 33 car. Hats off to Mark and Robbie. So happy for those guys. I gave it everything. I don't think there's any rubber left on the car. That's all I got.
We talked about how difficult it was going to be with the front wheel drive cars and the front tyres. Did you find the tyres didn't last very long at all?
No, the tires were actually pretty good. Just trying too hard to keep up with Wilkins. You know, he's a real pro, and he drove absolutely flawless, no mistakes. So I was waiting to capitalize on something, and it never came. So,
class act, Tim. Both cars at the lead battle for TCR. Class act, brilliant racing.
Tim Lewis, slightly disappointed for second, but he did give it his all. Really lovely as well, Jeremy, isn't it, to hear the disappointment from the drivers who came second, but prepared to give praise to the guys that they were racing.
Yeah, true respect there, and that's what you want amongst racers. And that's why that battling at the front was so good. I mean, it was hard, but it was clean.
Almost time to hand over to the formalities down in the Tioga Downs 120 victory circle. Let's quickly do the TCR points.
Well, very quickly, the manufacturers in GS. We had the 5th different winner in 5 races in manufacturers. So BMW joining Aston Martin, Porsche, Mercedes and Ford. Aston Martin have a 10-point edge now over Porsche in the manufacturer championship. In GS, Taylor Hagler and Michael Lewis with a 6th place finish today. They've still got, sorry, we'll have a 70-point lead now over today's second place finishers, Roy Block and Tim Lewis in the Alpha. So 1470 to 1400.
Brilliant stuff. Jeremy Shaw was alongside me, John Hindorf in the Haggerty Global Broadcast Centre. I hope you've enjoyed our live radio and TV coverage around the world. Thanks to Joe Bradley and Shea Adam out in that extremely hot weather. But the biggest thanks to all of the teams, drivers, engineers, and to you for watching, and of course our camera operators and the officials around the circuit. It's been a long, hard, super Saturday, and the Tioga Downs Casino Resort 120 at the Glen has ended up with a win for BMW and Turner Motorsport, backed up by the Hyundai in the TCR category. Brilliant winners both, great racing, lots of respect, and we'll do it all again in a week's time. Hope you can join us then here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. From Watkins Glen International and this Super Saturday, bye for now and see you for the Sailing 6 Hours tomorrow.